Hello, this is Marguerite with another video of a journal that I have just finished making. This is my second journal that I've made. My first journal I made the covers by hand using cardstock and gluing them together. This time, this cover I found a Tim Holtz Christmas themed journal cover, just the cover itself. And it was on sale because it was no longer Christmas and that sort of thing. So I found the cover and then decided that I was going to, cover it with something else, change the way that it looked. So what I did was I tore up a whole bunch of I tore up a bunch of old books with text in different languages, and I glued them together. On the back you can kind of see it a little bit better. I just kind of, glued a whole bunch of stuff on until it looked kind of the way I wanted it to. And then on top of that, I put a piece of very thin tissue paper. And the tissue paper was from a pattern, a sewing pattern. See, here's the sizing from the pattern there. In addition to that, so after I put on the tissue paper, then I kind of glazed it. I used a matte medium. Then I used a little bit of color around the edges. This is a Tim Holtz grunge board piece that I painted black and then used a copper ink pad to do the edges, just the very, very edges here, and a little bit of copper. The spine, I took a piece of black cardstock, I painted it with matte medium, and it kind of gives it a shine to it, and then I stamped a rubber stamp with that copper ink. Of course I did that on a flat piece of paper, and then I glued it on to the spine. For the signatures, I used 3 signatures with about 5 pages in each, and I sewed the signatures onto a piece of cardboard, not this one, but something like this size. I took a piece of cardboard and I sewed the signatures onto this, and then I glued that onto the spine of the book cover. Then I put a little bit of washi tape and I inked it. Of course I glued everything down really, really well before that. On the inside of the cover is just a Russian text from a children's poetry book. And then I have my 3 signatures. These I tea-dyed also. I have another journal that I made, my previous journal. I tea-dyed these guys. These ones I tea-dyed and baked. These ones I tea-dyed and then let them dry on my dining room table overnight. They did not crinkle. Well, of course they kind of crinkled, but not as much as the ones that I baked in the oven. So this one doesn't have as much volume as my other journal does. So it's just a little bit different. Try a couple things until you figure out what you like better. I really, really like to tea dye my pages. I've also tried coffee, but I didn't really care for the scent that is left behind on the paper, whereas the tea really has a nice scent to it that I find that I like a lot. And then also the tea dye, well, I suppose, you can make it as dark or as light as you want. I like my pages pretty light. I don't really want to make them too dark. So I'm kind of happy with the way the tea dye looks. I used paper pads for the beginnings of each of the signatures, just because these papers were a little more sturdy. So I just like that, just my own decision in putting pages together. On the inside, I just did some decorating, just a few. I didn't do all of them. Some pages, I did some collage. There's a rubber stamp and some different papers and some washi tapes and things like that. It's a paper pad. This is this stamp by, not a stamp, it's a stencil, Martha Stewart stencil. These are really nice. All covered up from where it's this one here. Very pretty. I have a few journal pages from, I think it's Ephemera's Vintage Garden, that I got in here. It happens to be the same size as of the journal that I'm making, so I stuck them in there, and it goes very well with the rest of the theme. Here's an envelope. Again, I just put it in and then cut the flap right down the middle so that I can put it in this way. This one's got kind of like a marbleized, totally by accident, I used a cookie sheet to tea dye some papers, and I guess I hadn't cleaned it as well as I thought I did, and there was a little bit of butter or grease or I don't know what on the cookie sheet, and it mixed with the tea, and I got this swirl. So happy accident, I guess. Very nice. It's a pocket. This is the middle of the signature. The other half of that envelope. It's another of that journal, Ephemera's Vintage Garden. Here's you can see the base of the spine. That's from before I sewed in the signatures, I took my little, piece of cardboard and I put a piece of cardstock over it, just so that because I knew, you were going to be able to see the spine, and I wanted to make sure that there just wasn't a piece of cardboard underneath. This is just another rubber stamp on paper pad. This is just a little postcard. Pocket. Kept a lot of blank pages. This is the middle of the signature. I used a 6x6 paper pad page, folded it, and then folded a little piece. No, actually, I didn't fold it quite in half. I folded it with an overhang, and then this is just a piece of washi tape. So that's what that was. This is just a piece of Tim Holtz paper pad with a sticker and some washi tape, butterfly. And then here's the third signature, a little bit of washi tape. It's a piece of one of those diary monthly calendars or whatever that is. It's a pretty illustration. This one's got a pocket on one side, and this side I kept open just so that I can, have more space here. Just a collage that I made. And that's it. The back side. I glued these pages down with a matte medium and then used a acrylic spray to coat it. I use the acrylic on everything, especially on the spine, because, you know, the spines, they get touched a lot, and I wanted to make sure that this ink was not gonna at all spread in any way to destroy, you know, the little image. Yeah, I really like this stamp. It's a cool rubber stamp. I don't know. I just found it at a used craft sale, but it's looks very I don't know. It's got looks like a clock, and it also looks like a space universe, you know, illustration kind of. It reminds me of the time space. I don't even remember what it is. From Star Trek Continuum. Anyway, so that is my second journal. Thanks for watching.